Alright, today we're doing 3, the rainbow method. So the rainbow method is really used when you have a polynomial which has a leading coefficient other than 1. So let me write this down. We're going to have a polynomial ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, it's important to realize that the x is a variable, but the a, b, and c are all going to be numbers. These are all going to be numbers. Another thing to realize is that when we factor something like this, a can never be equal to 0. So a just can't ever equal 0 when we're doing something like this. Now, the first example that I wanted to do was 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. We'll try this one first. Now, when I'm doing something like this, I always try to identify what's my a, what's my b, and what's my c. The number out in front of the x squared is known as the a number. That's going to be 2. B is always going to be the number next to the x. That's going to be 7. And then c is that lonely number hanging off to the side. That's going to be 6. And basically, when we do something like this, we want to make sure that we draw the rainbow from the first number to the last number. So we're always going to be drawing the rainbow from A to C. So I always draw from the first number to the last number. Now, whatever numbers that the rainbow actually hits, those are the two numbers that we're going to be multiplying together. So 2 times 6 is going to give me 12. And I write that on top of the rainbow. So that's known as my rainbow number. So 12 is going to be my rainbow number. It's also known as my multiplying number. So when I do something like this, I always do my MA chart off to the side so I can organize which numbers I'm going to be using. I'm going to put 12 under the M, so I know I need to multiply to 12, but at the same time, I'm always adding up to that middle number, the 7. The middle number is always going to be my adding number. So then I just think, okay, I need to find two numbers that multiply to 12, but at the same time add up to 7. So I'm going to be using 4 and 3. 4 and 3 multiply to give me 12, but at the same time, 4 and 3 can add up to give me 7. So it's got to do both. It's got to multiply to 12, but also add up to 7. So what I'm going to do with these two numbers is I'm going to break up my middle term. I'm going to break up my middle term into 4x and 3x. Notice all I did was I took these two numbers and I put x's beside them. Okay? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down my two terms on the right side. I'm going to bring down my 2x squared, and I'm also going to bring down my 6 on this side. And I'm going to put a plus sign in the middle, since both of these numbers are positive. So now I have 4 terms that I can use to factor. I'm going to group the first two terms together, like this, and I'm going to group the last two terms together, like that. So now I have two groups. My first group is right here, and my second group is right here. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling out what the two terms have in common. So what do these two terms have in common over here? Whatever they have in common, I'm going to take outside of the parentheses, and I'm going to call it my GCF. So I know for a fact that these both have an x. So I can take out an x first. But also notice that I can divide both of these main numbers here by 2. So I can take out a 2. So 2x is actually going to be my GCF this time. And then I just see, what am I left with? Now, I've already taken out an x. I need another x to get back to x squared. So I need to put an x right here. Whatever sign is in the middle, I bring down. So the plus is going to go down. And then what number do I need right here? Well, I took out a 2x, right? I'm trying to get back to 4x, so I need to multiply by 2. So that's going to be my first group. I bring down whatever sign is in the middle. This time it's a plus. And then I look over here. Okay, what can I take out from here? I have a 3x and a 6. What can divide both 3 and 6? That 3. So I would take out the 3. So then I want to know, what am I left with? Well, I took the 3 out, so all I need is an x and a plus. And then what number goes right here? Well, I took out the 3. I'm trying to get back to 6. So what number do I need to multiply by 3 to get back to 6? That's going to be a 2, right? So now what you'll notice is the insides match up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my color to red, and I'm going to underline the inside parts. The inside parts always have to match up. So the inside parts must match. If they don't match, that means that you made a mistake somewhere and you need to go back and fix it. Okay? So last step we're going to be doing is called regrouping. We're going to be taking the outside parts and putting them together, and we're going to be taking the inside parts and putting them together. So the 2x and the 3 are going to go inside parentheses together. And then I bring my inside parts, x plus 2. And I'm done. So that's the rainbow method. We're going to another example like that down here, just to make sure you know how this is done. And you can get some practice with it. Alright, let's do 3x squared plus 8x plus 5. Alright, so the first thing I do is I draw a rainbow. I always draw it from the first number to the last number. 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. I put that at the top of the rainbow, and that's going to become my multiplying number. So M, I'm going to put a 15. What goes under the A? Well, A is always going to be that middle number. So I'm going to put an 8 here. So now I need to find two numbers. They need to multiply to 15, but they need to add up to 8. So 3 times 5 should work well with that. So I'm going to be using 3 and 5. I'm going to break up the middle term into 3x and 5x. Now, the order of these numbers doesn't matter. So I could put the 3 first and the 5 second, or I could put the 5 first, 3 second. The order of these two numbers doesn't matter. So now I bring down what's on the left side, this 3x squared, and then I bring down what's on the right side, this plus 5 over here. So now I have 4 terms, and I'm ready to group. Make sure you group the 2 terms and the last 2 terms. So now, looking at this first group, what do they have in common? I know that they have a 3 in common, so I can take a 3 out. I also know that they have an x in common, so I can take that out. And then what am I left with? I'm left with just an x, a plus, and a 1. Notice I'm left with a 1, because once I take out the 3x, I'm trying to get back 3x right here, but obviously I don't need anything else to multiply to it, so I just put down a placeholder 1. And that's going to be the same thing over here. Over here, what do they have in common? They have a 5 in common, right? So I can take out the 5, and then what am I left with? An x plus 1. So now I'm going to underline the inside parts in red just to show you that the inside parts always have to match up. And they do. So now I put the outside parts together and I put the inside parts together. So it's going to look like this. 3x plus 5. The inside parts give me x plus 1. And I'm done. So my answer is 3x plus 5 times x plus 1. We're going to do one more example like that. Let's do this one. We're going to do 5x squared minus 8x minus 4. Okay, so for this one, we're going to draw the rainbow from the first number to the last. Notice that ends on 5 and negative 4. So when I multiply those two numbers, you should get a negative 20. So that's going to be my multiplying number, negative 20. What's going to be my adding number? It's always going to be that middle number, right? The negative 8. So that's going to go right here. So now I think, okay, I've got to multiply to negative 20, but at the same time, I've got to add up to negative 8. So what two numbers will do that? Some kind of 10 and 2, right? So I'm going to be using some kind of 10 and 2. The real question is the 10 negative or is the 2 negative? Now, keep in mind, we're multiplying to a negative number, so that means one of these has to be negative. It turns out that the 10 is negative, because I'm trying to add up to a negative 8. That means that the biggest number has to be negative, right? So now, I can break up my middle term into negative 10x and positive 2x. And I'm going to put a plus in the middle because the 2 is positive, right? Okay, the next thing I do is I bring down my left side and my right side. The 5x squared is going to come down, and the minus 4 is going to come down. Alright, so now I'm ready to group. I'm going to group the first two terms, and I'm going to group the last two terms. Okay, so what can I take out from the first group? I can take out what number divides both 5 and 10? That would be 5. But not only am I taking out a 5, I'm taking out a 5x, right? And I'll be left with x minus 2. Over here, what can I take out from this group? Well, 2 and 4 can both be divided by 2, right? So I can take out that 2. And I'm also left with x minus 2. And that's good, because the inside parts always have to match up. So let me underline those in red for you. Alright, so the last thing I do is I do regrouping. That just means we put the outside parts together and we put the inside parts together. So I'm going to have 5x plus 2 times x minus 2, and I'm done. So that's the rainbow method. You're pretty much using the first number and the last number to find the multiplying number, and then you're factoring by grouping from that point. Okay? So that's called the rainbow method.